Welcome to Operations Unfiltered, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of influencer and talent management. I'm your host and your favorite marketing project manager girly, Zuryna. Today's episode is one that's really cool. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Nick Valenti, the CEO, co-founder, and head of strategy at MＡDIN. MADIN is a full-service creative agency that's making serious waves in the branding and influencer space. And you guys know this wasn't your average boring conversation with an executive, no. Nick brings that finance meets feelings type of energy to the world of creative strategy. We talked about his latest campaigns with the San Diego Football Club and Formula One Las Vegas. We also chatted about why they brought influencer marketing in-house and what small businesses really need to understand about using creators effectively. Oh, and we got into the logistics, the nitty-gritty. We talked all about the tools that he and his team use. Everything from Trello to Slack, and he even said my favorite three letters, an SOP. So without further ado, grab your coffee, open a Google Drive tab, or grab a notebook, and let's get into this week's episode of Operations Unfiltered with Nick Valenti. Thank you so much for joining me. This is an episode of Operations Unfiltered that I am looking forward to because this is someone that reached out to me first to be on the show, which I was shocked about. I was like, what? Someone's listening? So welcome to the show. Can we start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your business?
The fun stuff. Yeah. So my name is Nick Valenti. I'm the CEO, co-founder, and head of strategy for MADIN, full service creative agency. So we have an office in New York, office in San Diego, and then I'm in Dallas a lot as well. So we kind of try to cover the country.
Yeah, you got the hubs.
Yes. Yeah. I'm on planes a lot. I always tell people jokingly, I think I fly more than I Uber.
I
Just
love that. Now, I should have saved this question for later, but what airline do you prefer?
I grew up, well, preference and which one I fly are different answers. So
This
I
is
I grew up in Dallas, so American Airlines is
the
my
hub. Yeah.
airline that I have to use. I love
Yeah.
that they're a part of One World, so it's good for international travel. I think Delta is the best airline though, but I don't
Yeah.
have that privilege of flying them.
Just curious, because I'm a Houston girly, born and raised in Houston. So we have the two airports, and people are gonna laugh at me, but I love Southwest. I don't know. I feel like people say it's the Greyhound of the sky, but I like it. So I was just interested to see what you prefer.
I think branding wise, Southwest is amazing. I think
Yeah.
customer service is awesome. It's just, and I used to fly Southwest all the time because Love Field is so close to, Highland Park and actual Dallas where I lived for
Yeah.
a while. But the international side of things makes it tough because they don't have anything. And so I'm a dedicated, loyal American Airlines flyer.
I love that. So American Airlines, if you're listening, collab coming.
There you go. You need to sponsor this podcast.
Yes, yes. But anyway, back to our business. You are giving us the origin story of Maiden. I'm glad you pronounced it because I did not want to butcher it. I mean, my name is Zuryna, so I'm used to people butchering my name, but I have a problem with butchering other things. So can you talk a little bit about the name Maiden? How did that come about?
This is so everything that we do is super intentional. Like my background's in finance, which is sort of unique to
Oh,
me.
wow.
Yeah, being in the creative field, it's a big jump. I get a lot of my finance friends make fun of me, like jokingly about, why would you make the transition? And there's a number of reasons, but I think fundamentally there's a disconnect between what, investors want, which is purely financial outcomes, and then what
Yeah.
creative agencies want, which is, driving hearts and minds and loyalty and building emotion.
All the feels, the hugs, the feels. Yeah.
Right. So like with our agency, we have this amazing blend of like hyper creativity and then hyper intentionality. And so like Maiden is even the name is a good example because it's a misspelt word, which fundamentally I dislike. But
Yeah.
when we were going through the process of creating the name, one of my art directors, Maiden was on the table. We had 216 name options, and Maiden was one of the 8 that we got down
Oh,
to.
to be a fly on the wall in that room. I am a project manager by trade, so I can't wrangle in our group of like 20. So I can't imagine like wrangling all those ideas and all of that in one room. So kudos to
You would
you
have
for doing
loved it.
that.
Our Excel sheet had like categories of meanings and all the names under them. and then like the double entendre, triple entendre opportunities, and what is client facing versus, what is meaningful to us, and origin story. And well, anyways, we obviously landed on MÂDIN, and it was because I expressed my disdain for misspelled words. We're not a CPG brand. I'm fine with it in
Yeah.
CPG, and we have a lot of CPG clients. But he said, well, it's not a misspelling, it's a respelling, because we're hired to rethink and
Oh,
reframe.
come on, rebrand.
Yeah, I was like, all right, let's go. I love that you're on the team.
I hope he got a raise slash a Starbucks gift card because that was a good rebrand.
Yeah, he's brilliant. We're a small team. We have about 20 people, and I'm so thankful for each person. Everyone, our goal is not to have depth of numbers, but to have depth of thought and incredibly talented people. So the
I
conversation is
love that.
exciting.
I love that. Well, speaking of which, you say we a lot. It's never, I'm not hearing a solopreneur in your vocabulary. So, can you walk me through some of your key players? I know you mentioned there's a team of 20, but who are your key team members that drive things forward?
Everyone's integral. I mean, the business started with myself and then my co-founder and business partner, Jamie Maunder. So British dude who's been in the creative space and a creative director at the highest level. He designed the Olympics and
Oh,
FIFA.
wow.
He is he is brilliant. We complete each other in a business sense.
Oh, I love that. That is so philosophical and sweet. We complete each other. I wish I could find my work counterpart that I can say that about. You complete me.
It's it's honestly, I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for 8 years, and I've been in a number of businesses where, business partnerships just so tough, and rarely do you see eye to eye and truly get the other person. But Jamie and I do, and then we have, well, especially given your podcast content, we just integrated an influencer marketing agency. So we just acquired a influencer marketing agency. So I have to mention Demeter. Demeter's our head of influence. I can't tell you his handle, but has millions of followers. It's not public facing, his name related to
Yeah.
the handle. So he's, friends with all the biggest content creators and influencers in the world. And that's been amazing to add in that additional service, because we get hired to think, you know, large campaign strategy, total media spend, go-to-market strategy, creative campaigns, and influence
Hmm.
is always a part of that. But normally we've outsourced it to say, okay, here's the types of people that you should work with. Here's the types of content you need to get. Here's the brand's messaging that we need to get across to reach these audiences, of course. But we're
Hmm.
never, that component's always been handed off. And now it's amazing to have that in-house, because it's that, that final notch in our belt to say, we're going to handle things end to end. And a part of this larger campaign strategy, we can also intimately have conversations with influencers to help get, the brand story.
Oh my goodness. Like I said, I keep referring back to this, but my heart is fluttering because you guys are thinking about this at the big picture level. And that is always so important because I feel like a lot of companies don't incorporate that into the big picture thing. So when I tell you my heart is fluttering, I love this. What made you guys finally pull the trigger and say, you know what, we need to bring this in-house versus to continue outsourcing?
Well, sort of to your point, continuity gets
Yeah.
lost when you have multiple agencies, and
It's
there's something
disjointed.
so disjointed, and there's something to be said about being incredible at and known for being incredible at a few things, but we feel like we are at the
Yeah.
core
Toot
competencies.
your own horn. I know that's right. Toot your horn.
Like we are confident with our strategy, our creative output, campaign, media buying, and there was just this disconnect between, and there's a lack of excitement around influencer marketing, I think, for some brands, because they've overspent and gotten burnt because
Yeah.
they're not getting content creators or influencers passionate about what they're doing, and it's just collecting a paycheck. And so we
Hmm.
just wanted to make sure that if we ever made this jump, that the people that we were bringing on, the team that we were adding, was so passionate about what they did. And Demeter is that way. And, everyone that we work with, it just makes it more integrated into building a strong campaign.
That is the perfect representation of what I talk to my clients about. It's like if you think about it at the big picture level, the little individual sprints will all make sense. And I know that so many of my small businesses, they're scared of working with creators, but if you think of it at the big picture, you figure out how to weave them in. It's honestly not so scary. So thank you for walking us through that. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're absolutely right too. I mean, especially with limited dollars, right? Like medium-sized brands, smaller brands, every dollar is so important. The benefit of my finance background is we care a lot to, create impactful, out there thinking, but we
Hmm.
also are financially responsible for outcomes, right? So we care
Yeah.
to be stewards of every dollar and be efficient. And so influencer, we feel like we finally tackled and figured out that formula to, utilize them in an effective way instead of
I
just
love that.
spray and pray.
Or throwing just something at the wall and hoping that it sticks. That's usually what some of the other brands that I've worked with, that's kind of their sort of strategy, if you will. So, yeah, good thinking on really thinking through that. Now, speaking of influencer and content creator, this is a debate that I've seen a lot in the boardroom, in planning sessions with small businesses, online. The word influencer versus content creator. Which term do you and your team resonate with? Why or why not? And does it impact how you structure your campaigns?
That debate is one that will probably never end. I don't know if we don't view them as synonymous.
Mm,
So anyone that has influence over an audience to us is an influencer. So if you
okay.
have a mom in a neighborhood that has 100 loyal people in her PTA group, she
Yeah.
she's a really micro influencer, but
Very specific.
she is an influencer. And then you have obviously the larger, social media influencers that are influencing in population. And so we view those people as influencers. The people that are making videos ongoing, like to us, those are content creators. We prefer, if we had to take a stand,
Hmm.
be political. We like both. I'm just kidding. If we had to take a stand, we prefer to work with influencers because we're
For
trying to
sure.
specific audiences. So we're not trying to work with people that are just creating content. We want to
Hmm.
work with people that have an audience that listens to them because at its best, influencer marketing is scalable word of mouth
Yeah.
marketing, which is the most effective marketing.
It absolutely is. And I'm glad you said that. Now, talking about the type of campaigns that you work on, does that also impact the type of influencer that you and your company would reach out to? And if so, would you be able to share who you've worked with in the past or an ideal influencer that you would want to work with?
Yeah, it definitely affects strategy. We've worked with a lot of, fun and crazy famous people.
Yeah.
Demeter's good friends with Mr. Beast, so that is, the biggest name probably that we could drop, I guess.
Yeah.
Right now, we're working on a campaign for one of our larger clients with Daniel Mack, who's the, what do you do for a living?
Oh
Guy.
gosh, that should be interesting. He's really cool.
He is awesome offline too, but I think he's built up an incredible audience that isn't just car specific or entrepreneurial specific. And so he has
Hmm.
sort of several segments that we can tap into, which we love for this, big campaign that we're launching in a month and a half.
Yeah. What would you say are some misconceptions that people would have about the use of influencer marketing when it comes to these campaigns or these brand rollouts?
Several things. So the biggest thing that we try to tackle with especially younger brands is you paying someone to help promote your brand is not the silver bullet. That's not
Yeah.
going to get you a million, 10 million, $100 million in sales off of one person. And then of course we get they come back with, well, it did this for this brand. And then our feedback is, well, the moment that you saw it did that, but they had been telling their brand story for a long time. There's other levers that they pulled with
Yeah.
in real life with
They
activation.
didn't put all of their eggs in one basket. That's what you're essentially saying.
Yeah, I'm definitely saying do not do that.
Get your notebooks out, people. Write this down. Don't do that. Do not put all of your eggs in one basket.
And they're humans, right? So you need to, if you're head of partnerships or you're head of influence or whatever you are within a brand, you don't need to do anything, but we would recommend that you actually form a relationship with the people that you're going to spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars with, because
For
you want to
sure.
be bought in to whatever they're promoting as authentically as possible.
Absolutely. I would love if you could walk us through one of your most successful projects. Now, I recently saw something that you guys did, and I don't know if this will be the example, so I'll hold my mule, which is what my grandma says. But walk us through one of your most successful projects.
Well, I want to know which one. Yeah, I won't talk about it unless you want me to. I can talk about a different one.
I was
I,
gonna say the San Diego Football Club because honestly, that's the one that I just saw. And I'm a sports girly. I'm in my sports era. I have a few clients, they're football players. So I love the whole world of sports. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh. So that's the one I was gonna talk about.
Speaking of sports, we have two incredibly fun projects that we got to work on in the last couple of years. San Diego FC launching the club. We found out we won Digiday's best first to market campaign, which is so exciting for us.
Congratulations. That is so big. That's exactly why I was like, oh my goodness, let me talk about that. That is crazy. Congratulations.
Thank you. That one's actually fascinating on the influencer front because we didn't leverage any national. That was such a specific to the county and San Diego region campaign that we used content creators locally.
Yeah.
And then we also used local influencers to build this regional presence and community and sense of belonging around a club that we were
Mhm.
launching from scratch. And then on the other side, contrast, we launched Formula One Las Vegas, so built the brand.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And that was the exact opposite, right? Because they have
Yeah.
a whole show with Drive to Survive. Their whole strategy is trying to make each driver a celebrity or influencer in
Absolutely.
already. And some of
So
them,
what was your role in that project?
we got to build the brand. So the visuals, we got to design the campaign strategy. So go to market of ultimately how they sold tickets, the copy that went on the columns in the hotels, and
Oh,
then
this was full service. Oh my goodness.
I'm a huge F1 fan and I race karts, like go-karts for,
Yeah.
and so I think that was a dream and it was cool to see how the sausage was made and
Yeah.
start something from scratch as well. It was basically a well-funded startup.
So going back to my project manager, did you guys have a lessons learned after you did these two big executions? And if so, what were the lessons that you learned? What things did you do well? What were some areas that you could have improved on?
So many learnings. I think, our goal is to constantly learn. My brain is wired to optimize, and so I'm always trying to be better than I was the day before. F1 and San Diego FC, why those campaigns were so successful, in my opinion, was from the beginning, and we do this with all of our clients, we need buy-in and open, intimate conversation. So we were
Love
able
it.
to have such a good dialogue around what are we actually trying to accomplish? How do we get there? And, the issue, I think, the frustration with a lot of creative agencies is we come up with these unique ideas and some of them never see light of day, right? I'd say 80%
Yes.
never.
Hurry up and then wait.
Exactly. And it's, oh, well, that's too risky. We're not going to do it. And so to the leadership at F1, the leadership at San Diego FC, it was so rewarding for them to have communication with us and for us to be an extension of their team and them to agree, yes, we're going to do these things that you guys want to do.
Oh,
That
I love that because so many of my projects have gotten stuck with legal. I love legal, but it's like our creative team and our marketing team, this is at my corporate job, they all have this amazing idea. And then it gets to legal and they're like, no, thank you. So I can imagine as a creative agency coming in with these ideas and this fire to make something amazing, to have that buy-in. I know that was amazing because I need therapy for those obstacles I've been through. So kudos to you.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
That's a whole separate podcast.
Listen, a therapy. So let's unpack. That's the name of it. Let's unpack.
I love that. That'd be good.
Yeah. So speaking of these big projects, I really would love to know. I'm the tech girly as well. What tools, technology, Excel sheets, Asana, Smartsheet, what did you guys use not only for external communication with your clients, but on the internal front? I know a lot of people like Slack, a lot of people hate Slack. So give me the rundown on the tech stack that you guys have.
we're a small business, so we're not that sophisticated. I would say we love Slack. The
Yeah.
thing we've ever done was get our clients, when we onboard them, we basically say politely, you can of course email us, but if you want a faster response, we're going to create a Slack channel for you.
Absolutely.
As you know, there's so many systems and people are using various things. We use Trello a lot for project management type things
Mhm.
of making sure we're going from phase to phase, timelines are
Absolutely.
getting hit. The worst but mostly true stereotype in creative is like we're not good at time management. So
And
thankfully,
that's not true. I am a creative operations project manager. That is my job to make sure my creatives are on time. Like I'll let you guys doodle and noodle, but move it along. That's not true. So here to bust that myth.
yeah, people with your skill set are a must, especially as agencies scale.
For
Because of
sure.
course, there could always be more time to come up with a better idea potentially. But I also think that creating this um, sense of urgency helps psychologically to, focus on getting ideas out there and actually executing on things. Otherwise, we would just forever be in ideation and nothing would get.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would hope that the tech stack that you have also helps to push some of that forward because I know some of the obstacles that smaller businesses have is that tech fatigue or tech overload, where they're so busy trying to formulate the process in the tech stack that they don't push things forward. So, do you see that at all with your team? And if so, how do you combat that?
Well, so probably similar to you, my background in private equity operations. So I am wired to make sure that we're moving along and organize. It then frees up time to be more creative.
Absolutely.
So we've definitely had a slow adoption when we introduce new tools, but we're at
Yeah.
a point now where we have a really good, standard operating procedure and we
Ah,
know where
you're
data.
gonna make me cry. You said SOP. I'm gonna cry. Where is my tissue? Oh my gosh. I love it. Version control, dates at the bottom, control
Yeah.
numbers.
Well, and
Okay.
the biggest thing too is like what, version control, what you're saying, like having, we just presented to a client this morning on a big project and we went through probably 7 iterations of this deck in Keynote and sending it back and forth. I know that you can collaborate. So anyone that's listening, it's like, oh, you should have just hit collaborate. That does not work. Half the time, Keynote needs to fix that. It's so frustrating. So we just send, 400 megabyte decks back and forth until they're done. But once it's done, it needs to live in a centralized
Single
folder.
source of truth.
Yes, because
Yeah.
we'll
The
revisit
compliant person in me is looking at you like, where did you store this? Who has the final version?
Google Drive, which people love, people hate, but we like it. It's easy. I can use it on my phone. I travel a lot. It's
Yeah.
um, very user friendly. So yeah. How do
Now,
you feel about these? Like what does your team use?
so I'm a solopreneur. So on the solo side, managing Operations Unfiltered, managing Live More Agency. I'm a Google Drive girly through and through. I love my Google Sheets. I use Trello a little bit. That's not my zhuzh, it's not my thing, but everything lives in Google Drive. Now at work, in my corporate life, we've gone through several iterations of tools that we've used. I worked in health insurance when I first got out of college, and they used a very different version of Workfront. It was before it was acquired by Adobe, so very archaic looking, but that's what we used. And then I went over to higher education. I worked at Johns Hopkins Carey Business School, and there we also used an archaic tool, but I helped our team move over to Smartsheet, which I will forever die on the hill that I love Smartsheet. Smartsheet can do no wrong. What I tell people, it's like an automated version of Excel. There's so much you can do with it. You can house attachments. So if I could die, I want them to bury me in the Smartsheet like attire. That's my thing. So currently we use Adobe Workfront. I like it. It's intense. So moral of the story, I'm a Smartsheet girly. If I could use Smartsheet forever, I would. But I always use Google. Google everything.
Agreed for now.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
just anti Outlook. Being in finance, Outlook is the most adopted but worst system I have ever used.
It is. And honestly, it's like I feel like a Mac user who uses a PC when I use Outlook, if that makes sense. Are you a Mac user or are you a PC?
I have parallels, so I have a
Okay,
Mac.
so you can switch. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
You use both sides of your brain. I
I do.
love that. Okay, so my last thought about project management, because I could talk all day about the logistics. What's something you wish more clients understood about whether it's the tools, the process, being involved? What would you want them to know about that?
That's a fun one. It's a tough balance, right? Because we're a service-based business. So at the end of the day, we need to meet the client where they are. But
Hmm.
if I could design a world, that's why I'm answering it, because that is the question. I would love for clients to not communicate with me on 10 different platforms, which is kind of what we're talking about, which
I love it.
it's tough though, because some people just, I do say, of course everyone uses email, that's easy, but I get inundated with emails. Slack is the
Hmm.
organized way for me to communicate with clients. And if I'm flying or in a meeting and it's a design question, my design team can answer it because they can see it. Whoever's on the project is, I mean, you know how Slack works, right? So it's amazing,
Yes.
but I still get WhatsApp messages and Signal and I get called, and I'm fine with um I love being client facing and I love having the personal relationship, but it's just when things are being asked that I don't need to directly answer, I
Yeah.
really wish people just universally adopted Slack.
Listen, I'm right there with you because there's so many times where I'm like, wait a minute, this is already available. This is here. This resource is there. But I think honestly, the tech fatigue of it all, people just don't know where to communicate. That's truly what it boils down to. I think we should go back to pen and paper. That's it. We should go back to the old days.
And
That'll
carrier
never happen, right?
pen, paper, and carrier pigeons to send messages.
Exactly, exactly. Now, I really want to talk more about your journey from finance to this crazy, beautiful world of creativity and creative agency. How did that happen?
I saw a hole in the market. I was working at a boutique private equity firm in New York, and they
Geez,
bought.
New York to Dallas, finance to creative. Wow.
Yeah, now back to New York. Now I'm back based in New York. I missed it a ton, and I'm back. And then I go to San Diego because so Jamie, my chief creative officer, runs our San Diego office. San Diego, have you been to San Diego?
I have not. That is on my list. I
Oh,
will definitely need to go. And now I need to visit the San Diego FC now for sure.
ew. Oh, the stadium's electric. The city is incredible. It's, in my opinion, the best city in the US. Not necessarily.
Shameless plug. I hope you guys teamed up with the tourism board because there that alone is like influencer, content creator, haven. That would be amazing. Shameless plug there.
Their slogan is the finest city. So they're already doing a lot right, which I didn't
Uh,
know that, but until the San Diego FC project. But yeah, and I was born there. So it's
oh
interesting.
wow.
City. That's their slogan,
That
which
is so crazy.
you have hiking, you have the ocean, you have everyone's so kind, the culture is so diverse, the weather is obviously amazing. It's a
Yeah.
place to be.
I
Um,
need to move that up on my list. Jeez.
Especially this summer. Yeah, post June, the water starts to get warmer. Anyways, yes.
Yes, look at him. He's going right back. I'll have to get with you for some food spots because I'm a foodie. I need some great food. I'm sure the seafood's amazing. Send
Oh,
me all your faves.
I'm Italian and French. I love food and I love,
Pasta, send me the pasta.
I will.
Oh
Um,
my goodness.
yeah,
So you went to finance. What school did you go to, if you don't mind sharing?
I went to SMU in Dallas, so private school in Dallas. They had a program where I think it was 80 or 100 kids were direct admins into the business school as freshmen, so we didn't have to
Okay.
wait till sophomore year to apply. So, and I got good scholarship money to go there. I followed a girl from high school at the time. That was part of the
Oh
influence.
man.
Dallas is everyone's amazing, and it's such a unique university, SMU, because it's one of the few universities that has an entire city backing it, right? Like
Yeah.
you look at New York, and I had looked at Columbia, Boston College, Northwestern, and SMU. And like New York obviously is a massive, city empire
For
and
sure.
universities.
Yeah, I live in Maryland, so I go to New York. I'm always super overwhelmed. I'm like, let me get back home. So yeah.
So SMU was a great place to, amazing business program. They actually have a finance degree rather than needing to study economics. So it's practical
Okay.
and theoretical, which was important. And so I did finance and public policy because I love the behavior, which is to answer your question from earlier, which is ultimately what led to the transition. I love the behavioral side of economics and finance because ultimately, for now, until robots take over, humans spend money and humans drive economies and humans trade stocks and are the reason that things go up and down. It's
Absolutely.
algorithmic, it's data driven, but it's also sometimes emotion based or
Hmm.
policy driven. So I wanted to understand the nuts and bolts of how governments work, how that affects economics, which is a public policy major, and then how you actually model and evaluate businesses, which is the finance side. And then I, did the New York thing for a little bit and realized, like I said earlier, private equity wants very specific things, which is, P&L driven financially.
Yes.
And then creative wants, they don't understand that. Neither world
No.
understands each other. And they're both needed. They're both unique. They're both needed to drive
Yeah,
value. They ultimately want to get to the same place. So
exactly. Different ways of getting there.
yes, and I think if they can work harmoniously, and if you're comfortable with that never-ending friction of, this is a qualitative thing that will provide quantitative outcomes for the finance
Absolutely.
things, you can really drive value for brands. I mean, we just saw this cycle in private equity of hiring big creative agencies,
Hmm.
doing amazing work, it not necessarily leading to the right outcomes for, a portfolio company that we owned on the private
Hmm.
equity side, and then hiring a new creative agency.
Yep.
And millions of dollars are being spent in this whole thing. And so I wanted to create a solution for that, right? Because
I love it. I'm really obsessed. Like I'm sitting here like this is crazy. You saw the need and you came in and you filled it. And I love that so much. And I'm still in the corporate doing the same thing, bridging the gap between the two. So what do you set for yourself or for your creatives as key measures of success? Like I know we all as a creative, you can't just say, well, this got a 4% increase in views and things like that. So how do you measure success for the projects that you have or even for your team?
so two-part answer, I think, with any new client onboarding, we have, again, candid conversation about why are we here, right? Like,
Yeah.
great, you loved what we pitched, you want to work with us, you like our portfolio and our team, but what is a successful outcome for you? And then they give us that answer, and then that's our answer, right? So if it's
Okay, I love that. Straight to the point. The onus is on them. The other part, the question that is bubbling inside of me, because I know the people who I've worked on projects absolutely hate this. Do you have a RACI model? Responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. So there's no communication errors. There's no misunderstanding about who's supposed to review, who's supposed to approve. Do you have that? And if not, would you think that that would be important or helpful to implement?
that is so important. We learned the hard way early on as an agency. You must know who needs to sign off on
Thank
things
you. Say
and
it louder for the people in the back.
scope of work
Oh,
needs to be clearly communicated.
this is out of scope. I can't, I love sending those emails. I'm so sorry. This is out of scope. I love it.
I feel, yeah, it's a fine line, right? Because we're in this business to over deliver and create beautiful things,
Hmm.
but we can't. And we have these conversations, Jamie and I internally. It's like, okay, if we're doing something that's out of scope, we are basically investing in their business, but we don't have equity in their business. So
Hello?
we're paying for it. So it's a fascinating, there's obviously a fine line of things, but we really try to create that open communication and clear communication. And we haven't at times, right? It's been a
Yeah.
learning process. Because you're also like, creatives need to understand that the other side, your clients, don't necessarily understand your process. They don't
Correct.
they know the outcome that they want, but they don't know. You can give them a timeline. They don't know where you are in the timeline with unless you're communicating with them. Hey, by the way, we just did this visual direction, and now you're going to start to see brand identity come through.
Absolutely. And it even gets to the granularity of like, I have to explain to you that yes, you think picking photos for this email banner is quite simple, but my graphic designer needs a couple days, needs to figure it out, or things like that are not accounted for at the beginning. I think save a lot of confusion in the end. So that's why I asked that racy question because I've had a lot of people moan and groan when I do it. I have a lot of people get frustrated, but it's helpful. So
It's so helpful, especially on the to your point on the decision making side of things. Like idea meritocracy is important. We want everyone to be able to weigh in, but we need to know ultimately who we need to be listening to.
yes, for sure. And you mentioned you pitch these. Is there a go-to ritual that you have, a song that you play to get you ready for this? Because mine is Beyonce. Like Beyonce can do no wrong in my eyes. I'm gonna play sprinkle a little bit of Taylor Swift in there, maybe some Kendrick. It's an eclectic playlist. So, what's your ritual or your song that you play before these big pitches?
So I do have a playlist. It's incredibly eclectic. It's everything from classical music to pop to rap to house music. It's really just I like the feeling that music invokes. Uh,
Yeah,
so
it
we
sparks
do
your creativity. I love it.
it does. It puts you in a good mindset. There's a really funny one that, well, funny for prepping for a meeting. It's not a funny song, but it's called Sleeping on the Blacktop. And
Ooh,
it's
I
like
love that.
a deep, sultry song. I think it's by Coulter Wall. I'm really bad with names. But it's like you feel like you're, in a Western film and going into a duel or
I
something.
love it. Okay, I'm adding that to the list. Okay. Are there any podcasts that you have on rotation right now? Of course, other than Operations Unfiltered, duh, but any other ones?
Operations Unfiltered, and then I love Tim Ferriss.
Okay, Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss.
And I
Um,
do reading. I read probably more than I
that
listen.
was gonna be my next question because I'm in my book era. I'm reading Set Boundaries to Find Peace by Nedra. I can't pronounce her last name, but I'm in my Say No Girl era. So that's helping me find my center. And then of course I love reading case studies. Such a weirdo. So I'm reading Applied Crisis Communication. So because with all of the crises that are happening, I just want to spruce up my toolbox. So those are the two that I'm reading. So please
It's
give me
brilliant.
something else other than those case studies to read.
There's an amazing marketing book called Contagious, which is awesome. Everyone should read it. Alchemy, which is Rory Sutherland, who is, Ogilvy. And then I'm currently reading Rational Transparency, which
Oh, I
is,
love that.
and that's more of a human behavior book, which I find fascinating. Um, I could go on. I mean, it's
Have
tough.
you ever read Digital Minimalism? That's been on my list for a while, but I have not read it just yet.
It's getting at.
Digital Minimalism. And I would love for another creative who's the exact opposite of that. Our we can't be minimalist. We can't be so I would love to see someone in our space read that and give their perspective because I know there's such a negative connotation with social media. It does do poor things to our mental health, but I mean, there's a whole world of us that make this our living. So digital minimalism.
It's added to the list. And
Yep.
social media is not going away. So people can complain about it, but they really just need to learn to use it as a
For
tool.
sure. Get on board. That's what I keep saying. Get on board. You mentioned you traveled a lot. How do you maintain this work-life balance? Is someone telling you to eat? Are you reminding yourself to eat? Are you taking naps? Like, what is happening?
Mom?
Right. I'm happy to do so. Like, what is happening?
Health is so important. I love fitness and health and wellness. We actually had a supplement company that we were involved in and invested in and did the branding and marketing for. And I learned so much because we had some of the best nutritionists in the world involved in that. I It's a moving target. Diet is key when
Mhm.
traveling. I am a foodie like you, so I still go out and eat. I
Yes.
really try to prioritize getting in the gym, sleeping well. I have a remote trainer that there's a new thing over the last couple of months just to give me the structure, because otherwise I'm going in the gym doing what I want to do based on my,
Yeah,
not a way to see progress. So
for
it's,
sure.
she tells me, your mood doesn't matter. It's the plan that you need to stick to, which I think,
Hello. Let me write that down. Your mood doesn't matter. It's the
yeah,
plan you need to stick to.
yeah, it's
I am gonna put that on my forehead. Like,
yeah, it's just, daily making sure you get in, because you feel so much better when you're active. And
yeah,
it's sort of this, I call it the paradox effect, right? Like, to have more energy, you have to sleep. To build muscle, you have to tear it down.
yeah.
There's all these things in life that are seemingly opposite for results. But yeah, sleep is key. I don't get a lot of sleep, but I get quality sleep, which is important.
So all the entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, get some sleep, make sure you watch your diet, all of the things. Take care of yourself. That's the moral of the story.
It is. You can't get back. Health is the most important thing. For
Yes. Well, Nick, thank you so much. I've learned so much. This has been a great conversation. How can everybody keep in contact with you, keep up with all things Maiden, follow you? How can they stay in the know?
So our website's Maiden, MADIN.com. Social media is Maiden Agency. And then mine is Nick Valenti with 3 I's.
With three. Okay, real creative. I like it. Thank you so much again for joining me. It was a pleasure, and I will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.